what do our young people believe about God? Something that I plan on doing in February when I return from being away is I'm actually going to, this is just random, I'm actually going to pass out a quiz to all of my parishioners and have them take it during the homily. Who is God? What is the Trinity? Basic questions. Because there's all these studies and all these polls about, do Catholics believe in the true presence of the Eucharist? Do they ever go to confession? Blah, blah, blah. And so here I am looking at my people saying, what do they believe? Is that true? Are the national studies true among my own people? It'd be interesting in a similar sense to ask those questions among your young people. Is this true for you? Has our catechesis helped or hindered where you're at before and after? Is benign whateverism rampant? Is it the heresy of our times? And what can we do to assist our young people to actually know who God is? So that increased knowledge helps them to understand who Christ is in a bigger context. The ministry of catechesis also helps young people enrich and expand their understandings of sacred scripture and sacred tradition, and their application to daily life, which is huge. Catechesis, and this is like I said, as a Hindu or as a Buddhist, we can know our faith, but they don't apply it. Many of people, as Emily's talking about, not just the people at Sistine or at Cathedral, but how many kids, they know their faith in a general sense, but they don't want to apply it, because they know applying it is going to be, it's going to make change, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to cost them their popularity or their friendship or their comfort. And none of us really want that. And then also, as says Scripture, live more faithfully as disciples of Jesus Christ in their daily lives, especially through a life of prayer, justice, and loving service. And this is where our own bishop, and this is where Ken and myself are kind of coming from, is that, and this is why we want ourselves to be looking at this, to live our faith, to be people of social, people of justice, people of prayer. Our catechesis has to be at the heart of it, because there's many Buddhists, there's many atheists who do great social justice. There's many people out in our city trying to do great things for young people. What makes us different is the fact that we have a knowledge and a love of a Christ through our knowledge and our deposit of faith that helps us to do that in a totally different way, in a way that's divinely inspired. And then this great sentence here, that the ministry of catechesis fosters growth in Catholic faith in all three dimensions: trusting heart, knowing and believing mind, and doing will. The goal should be to have all. And then this right here is this last sentence is a sentence which challenges me, and I believe it challenges many of us. The goal should be to have all Catholic youth involved in some program of catechesis. That right there is what I had a meeting with the bishop with on last Wednesday. And it is something that the bishops of the United States are struggling with. It's something that we as youth ministers have to wrestle with. That the goal should be to have all Catholic youth involved in some program of catechesis. That's where I'm going to introduce this. You've heard over the past few months, I guess, that this task force that we will begin in our own diocese, but I don't know if all of you have seen this or not, so I wanted to provide a copy to you. This, approved by our own USCCB, is the official curriculum content for all high school youth. Now, this is intended for Catholic high schools. But the question right now that the catechetical leaders and the people like ourselves are going to have to be wrestling with is, how on earth do we help people who are not in Catholic schools, especially high school students, have this as well? And the bishop and I, believe me, we're beginning the conversation, but we're going to have to go down the road, and it's going to be a road of total transformation in some ways. If we look at the surveys and the results that are in, 70% of our youth ministers in our diocese are engaged in sacramental preparation of confirmation, which is a good thing. But the amount of parishes that have, outside of confirmation preparation, that have an actual catechetical component for their high school youth is very, 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 very slim. And which means the majority of our non-Catholic parochial schooled high school youth are not engaged in some sort of catechesis. And that's going to be our challenge and our mission over the next 5 to 10 years, is how do we bring that about? How is that going to look? Most importantly, as you all know, how do parents embrace this so that their young people embrace it? And that's going to be a mission and an effort that's going to have to come out of higher than us, to have people embrace that and to become part of that. But it's going to be hopefully a beautiful journey if we believe in the knowledge and the truth and the goodness of our faith. So something for us to think about, something for us to pray about, and to be praying about it now, and to be dreaming about it, because that's going to be a mission and a goal for us, is to put renewing the vision into effect, especially that the goal should be to have all Catholic youth involved in some program of catechesis. And how do we do that schematically, and how do we do that program-wise, and how do we do it effectively? How do we do it effectively? Well, the renewing the vision gives us a how-to. How should our catechesis take place? It goes through and makes this happy little list for us. I've reduced it to key words, but good catechesis, according to Renewing the Vision, is going to involve many different things, and we've already talked about them in some of our own reflections and our own discussion about catechesis this morning. But first is that people are changing. There has to be process, there has to be development, because young people are at different places in different stages. We all know that you can't talk to an 8th grader the same way you talk to a 12th grader. You can't even talk to a freshman the same way you talk to a senior. They're radically different in their ability to comprehend, their ability to understand, but also their ability to receive. So how do we deal with process, the process that's taking place in their own lives, but also the development that's taking place in their own lives? And how do we meet them where they're at? How do we meet them where they're at to bring them someplace else? Being faithful to the Catechism of the Catholic Church means just being faithful to the Church's teaching. Thanks be to God, we're at a very good place in our church right now. I think we're at a very good place in our church right now. I think that we're at a place now where I think people are being very faithful. I really do. I think for the most part in catechetics, I think people are on board. The texts that we have from our publishers are good, and I think for the most part people are being faithful to them. But remaining faithful to the teachings of the Church, making sure that our teaching of catechesis is practical for living. Kind of what we've been saying. How do we take that it's not just some sort of teaching that means nothing to me, but how do I practically live that? How do I put that into action in my own life? And then experience. If we look at what we're doing in youth ministry, we're very experimental. Not experimental in like the fact that, hey, let's try this out. This could be fun. But right now we're planning the Archdiocesan retreat for confirmation. And raise your hand if a model of a retreat right now for you would be that there's a talk, and then after the talk, your young people have some sort of practical something to do. If there's either a project or an experience, or that's kind of become the norm. Or there's some sort of small group work directly after the talk. Go back 40 years ago, 50 years ago, that would not have been the case. My mom still talks about when she went on a retreat, when she was a young girl. Literally, it was a silent retreat. They prayed the rosary, they prayed the Stations of the Cross, they spent time in silence, and that was it.